Toronto Maple Leafs former head coach Sheldon Keefe speaks out on the Leafs, and what he says might not sit well with a lot of fans, and this Leafs prospect continues to dominate, tearing up the OHL. I'll get into this later on this episode. Before I start, I just want to say to the 3,490 of you that are subscribed, thank you so much. It means so much. Just seeing this number rise. We're so close to 3,500, and I want to say we can get to 4,000 before the draft. So if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to go down and hit that subscribe button. We'll be all season long giving you updates from all around the NHL. With that, let's hop straight into the first topic today, which is Sheldon Keefe speaks out on the Leafs. Now, there was an article and there was a phone interview that Sheldon Keefe did with someone from the Toronto Star, and he was kind of talking about his time with the Toronto Maple Leafs. It was the surface level stuff, and he was saying that he was going to take some time to think about everything. But a pretty good sense of where things were going and how they were playing out. Now, this was Sheldon Keefe talking about Brad Treliving after the season concluded for the Toronto Maple Leafs, where they did lose once again to Boston in 7 games. Now, you do see he continues on that there would be another meeting. I believe it was a Thursday, but I had pretty good sense of the day I was going to wake up and be called in for a meeting. And I knew what the result was going to be. I didn't sleep much around that night. I was up till 3 a.m. rolling around in bed. He continues on to say after he did get fired that he got a lot of messages from players, not just players that are on this season's team, but players on previous season's teams. Players that have moved on to other organizations, staff members. It was a pretty great experience for me just to have so many people reach out. Obviously, Sheldon Keefe didn't get the things done for the Toronto Maple Leafs, with one being the playoffs, only making the second round once in his tenure and losing to the Florida Panthers, which was last season. We did see him fall to the Columbus Blue Jackets. We've seen this team fall under his wing to the Tampa Bay Lightning, beating the Tampa Bay Lightning once as well, and losing to, of course, the Boston Bruins in Game 7. But Sheldon Keefe was loved by a lot of players. We've seen him help with the development of quite a few players around this organization. He did go on saying how he couldn't sleep, how he was up all night, and that a lot of players did reach out. When he's talking about players that have moved on to other organizations, it makes me immediately think of guys like Zach Hyman, Michael Bunting, maybe even a guy like Frederik Andersen that was around for a decent part of Keefe's tenure. And you have guys like, of course, Jack Campbell, Cody Ceci, just names that pop into memory, and a lot of names that are currently still playing where, Jack Campbell is on a playoff team. But with this, obviously a lot of players, former staff, Dave Hextall, who moved on to Seattle, who did just get fired, a lot of these guys reached out to say how much Keefe meant. Now, obviously, he continues on. It was very clear there was a lot of people that had things they wanted to say to me for many years and hadn't, but felt now was an opportunity to express some levels of gratitude of our time spent together. There were some messages I received that I hold dear that weren't able to ultimately win there, but I was able to have people communicate to me that I made a positive impact on them, and that meant a lot. Obviously, like a lot of people know, Sheldon Keefe was a great person. This was a guy that wanted to win with Toronto more than almost anyone. The fans turned on him. Obviously, this team couldn't get it done with him, following multiple 7-game series where they did lose. Losing in the first round, losing in the qualifying round. These guys just need a new vocal leader in the locker room. Even though how players reached out, how he made positive impacts on them, there's a lot of guys where you could say that he really turned Michael Bunting into what he was. Yes, he did play with Mitch. Yes, he did play with Matthews, which ultimately did help his development, helping him just overall getting the point total that he needed to become the player he was, but Keefe did have an impact. Now, this is the part that I wanted to say that a lot of fans might not feel sits well. It was a tremendous honor to coach the Toronto Maple Leafs. There's a lot that goes into that. I've said a number of well-established coaches in the league that have reached out to me to say that I should be happy now and that I get to coach in the real NHL. Toronto is quite unique. It's not like the rest of the league. Now, obviously, yes, the media in Toronto is hard to play for. Yes, Sheldon Keefe didn't outright say, hey, I hated the team. Everyone knows Sheldon Keefe loved this team. but just seeing him, how people reached out, other coaches, well-established coaches in the NHL. A lot of people and a lot of fans are saying this could be guys like John Cooper, maybe a former head coach and Mike Babcock reaching out as well. And he's saying how Toronto is quite unique. I think this is a shot at the media in 100%, where he's saying it's not like the rest of the NHL where you're under a magnifying glass. You're being poked at, you're being looked at by everyone in the NHL. But what's your guys' thoughts on what Sheldon Keefe said? Do you think it was bad what he said? Are you fine with it? Who do you think the former coaches that were speaking out, just well-established coaches? Do you think John Cooper's one of them? Because I definitely do think it's him. But with that, let's hop straight into the second topic today, which is Easton Cowan dominates. Now, we do see a few retweets here from tonight, tomorrow, yesterday, whenever you're watching this, that Easton Cowan scores with 1:25 to go to give the London Knights the lead. If the team can hold on, they'll be off to the finals. And then we do see Cowan ices it with an empty net goal, his third point of the game. London is off to the finals in the Memorial Cup, and Easton Cowan is a huge part of this. We do see that he had 3 points. He iced the game with an empty net goal. We do see that he scores with 1:25 to give London a lead. This guy has been everything we wanted and a lot of what we didn't expect. He's been dominant in not only the OHL, but he looked great in training camp. He looked great in tournaments. But when you do just kind of look at Easton Cowan under just the OHL season, we can see in his first season, 2021-2022, in 7 games, Easton Cowan had 1 goal, 1 assist for 2 points. Going into the playoffs, 5 games played, 2 assists for 2 points. We see him following up the next season with quite a breakout year. 68 games played, 20 goals, 33 assists for 53 points. Into the playoffs where he was over a point per game, 20 games played, 9 goals, 12 assists, and 21 points. Now, the biggest thing with look at this is, and I'll get to the second part, Easton Cowan came into the season playing with the Toronto Maple Leafs in the preseason. He looked good. Obviously, he lost his spot on the very last day. Going back to London where they wanted to get him more development, we see a former prospect or former teammate in Easton Cowan, well, a guy that he played with in the preseason, in Fraser Minton making the roster, and I do think Easton Cowan has a chance going into next season. In 54 games played, Easton Cowan had 34 goals, 62 assists, 96 points. Going into these playoffs, 18 games played, 10 goals, 24 assists for 38 points. 34 points, my bad. But Easton Cowan, a first-round pick, 28 overall. A lot of people do forget that Rasmus Sandin was traded to the Washington Capitals. With this pick, they got back a first-round pick and owned by the Boston Bruins that the Capitals did have, and that is where Easton Cowan was taken. Now, Easton Cowan is a guy that played a lot of top penalty kill unit for the London Knights. He played on the power play. He played in the top 6. This is a guy that's been dominant, and I'm expecting him to make the huge jump into the NHL and have a great season. But what's your guys' thoughts on Easton Cowan? Is he better than you expected? Is he just where you expected? What do you think he does next season? Do you think he goes back to the OHL where I think he has nothing left to prove, and I think the next jump is the NHL at just the age of 19? Let us know down in the comments. And talking about comments, I'll get into everyone's favorite topic, and that is comments of the day. And the comment of the day today comes from Sean. He says, I think a young guns line would be totally awesome. Plus, the Leafs have a few more prospects in like Cade Weber and a few more great show. As always, go Leafs go. Way up north, Timmins, Ontario, Canada. Shout out to you, Sean. You've been a huge supporter of the show. You comment on everything. And I do agree, especially when you have a guy like Easton Cowan that could be on this young guns line. Maybe run Nyes, Fraser Minton, Easton Cowans, see what the guys can do, and I do think we have a great prospect pool that a lot of people might not agree with. But if you enjoyed this episode of Hattrick HQ, make sure to go down and leave a comment. You could be featured on the next episode as comment of the day, like our friend Sean today. While you're down there, leave a like, share this with your friends, subscribe, because we're so close to 3,500 and our goal of 4,000 before the deadline. Before free agency. But that'd be it for this episode. I've been Mark Bye. I hope you enjoyed. Take care.